Partner faked having terminal cancer to cheat on me and Pa-sed an STI that threatened our baby's life. Now I'm exposing him. My partner told me when we first got together that he has cancer and if his operation doesn't go well, it could be terminal. He said his treatments have also made him infertile, so imagine our shock and joy when we found out I was expecting at the start of 2024. We now have a beautiful 5-month-old daughter who is perfectly healthy and thriving, and he is in remission. My pregnancy was difficult and lonely because of all the intense treatments he went through while waiting for his operation. I did a lot on my own, knowing he desperately needed this to have the best chance possible of shrinking his tumor before having it removed so we can have a long happy life together as a family. He is currently living with his mom while he is in recovery so that it takes the pressure off me caring for both him and our baby until he is well enough to move into our new home with us. He still comes to our house and we go to his mom's all the time, so our baby isn't missing him, and on Wednesdays he has his daddy-daughter days where it is just the two of them to make sure they are bonding well, and he has the practice until he is well enough to care for her at home full time, and give me a little break too. Last week we had an attempted break-in at the house. I asked him to come over and stay here while I'm waiting for the locks to be changed because I'm scared, but he wouldn't. I was talking to his mom too, who slipped up telling me he wasn't home. Long story short, this is Reddit. I'm sure you can see where this is going. We argued for over 24 hours before my suspicions became too much and I went to Facebook. It took me less than an hour to find the first two women. During my pregnancy I was suspicious of a lot of things and put it all down to my hormones, as he would continuously tell me that I am paranoid and hurting him when I ask. One thing my paranoia just wouldn't let up about was his cancer and his treatments. I asked his mom about it, who told me he doesn't have cancer but he is having treatments. He has an autoimmune disease which he receives transfusions for. Very serious but nowhere near terminal and no operations required. She also informed me he was in rehab, not hospital. He was addicted to cocaine and was trying to recover for me and our baby. I never mentioned to him that I knew. I assumed it was the embarrassment of wanting to get clean without me knowing so he could be a good partner and dad. I was so proud of him for getting that help that I never spoke about it. With his autoimmune disease, his mom explained how brutal this has been for him and that he did have chemo a few years back, so maybe that's why he's confused. Pregnancy brain is a real thing, or maybe I'm just too blindly in love because I accepted this and never questioned it again. After discovering the first two women, I sent my partner a message telling him to let his girlfriend know I'm asking after her and not to bother coming home anymore. I've had the locks changed from the break-in so he can't get in. He panicked and started begging me to answer the phone and let him come see me so he could explain everything. I started to see everything through clear eyes for the first time and realized how long he had been gaslighting me for, and told him no. Realizing he couldn't get through to me and now aware I was trying to contact his girlfriend, he panicked and went to her instead. During that time, I found a photo she had shared of the two of them and shared it to my profile with the caption, "Can someone please ask this woman to contact me?" She instantly blocked me, but her sister got in touch with me instead. Apparently the family have never trusted him and knew something was wrong. This affair is serious enough to have met the family. She says he has told her not to speak to me as I'm a deranged stalker he slept with once years ago and have been hunting him down trying to convince people my baby is his. I sent her a photo, the birth certificate and us in hospital together to show her sister before he can lie to her anymore. During this, I am also messaging another woman who is furious at what he has done and is helping me with all the information she is aware of. She tells me he broke her heart by cheating on her without even knowing he was cheating on me too. So far I have the current timeline. Chemo in March? A 19-year-old rehab in April to July? A woman of an appropriate age this time but also cheating on her August. Now, his 20-year-old girlfriend. I then find out his emergency cancer medication that he had to leave for in the middle of labor was actually the fact my 2 failed epidurals, screaming in agony begging the doctors to help because I thought I was dying while the emergency team rushed in to place extra monitors on our baby in distress was actually just a huge turn on for him, so he needed to go sleep with a 20-year-old before making it back just in time to kiss me before I went into emergency surgery. This was Sunday, it is now Saturday the following week. I made a post on Facebook calling out my partner for his actions, with photographs, medical notes and evidence, and asking people to leave me alone on Tuesday after 48 hours of no sleep, multiple calls to the crisis team and a barrage of harassment from his friends and family who want to sue me for character defamation. If this was a regular affair, I'd lick my wounds and move on, but I have now learnt I have been leaving my daughter alone with a drug addict who is claiming he doesn't know me or his daughter to others but demanding custody rights to me. Tens of women have now come forward who have also dated him during our relationship with no idea of me or each other. This is obviously really upsetting, but what upsets me the most is that I begin to notice a very worrying pattern. He has told every single one of these women that he has cancer and can't get them pregnant. I said my labor and delivery was difficult. I was induced due to an infection I had. My GP had told me I had an STI, and although I understood and took the treatment and was induced, my madly in love pregnancy brain never accepted it as an STI until I went back this week and checked my hospital discharge notes and it was there in big bold letters. Sensitive, partner STI. He has been telling women that he has cancer and can't get them pregnant so they don't need protection, which led to an STI which almost killed me and his daughter in labor, and he wasn't even there to be with us because he was sleeping with a young girl who also believes he has cancer. I decided to let everyone know that he in fact does not have cancer by using a screenshot of his mom's messages. All the women he has slept with to make sure they take a pregnancy and STI test, all his friends who he has been guilting for years over his condition, and also social services and the police for sexual endangerment. Me and my daughter now have safeguarding in place for us from a local organization for women leaving abusive relationships, so I feel very safe to reveal the truth about him and make sure all of his partners are safe and informed, seeing as he couldn't uphold his legal obligation of declaring an STI. I guess his postpartum girlfriend will do it for him. I have also had contact from many of his old friends, band members and ex-partners who have all gave me testimonies to use for the police and as backup for if his mother does in fact try to sue me. This man has been lying and manipulating women for over 9 years. So far everyone is now aware of his lies and I am waiting for my in-person meeting with the police. I can't imagine any updates from here as it will only be a legal battle that probably can't be shared, but if anything else of interest comes too, I will make sure to write about it. Oh, also, my partner is a primary school teacher. It's come to light this week that his ex-partners have been reporting him for years to no avail. His ma'am is on the school board and her best friend is his head teacher. I'm hoping with the added element of social services this time and an investigation into child endangerment for our daughter, they can't sweep it under the carpet any longer. We're in the UK. His complaints have been escalated to Lotto in the past, which is basically our version of what controls the school's judgment over any dangerous situations, but nothing happened. One of his exes have gave me all the details of their report to push that they ignored her and it's escalated to this. Commenter, feel like we need a full name and link to his Facebook, or at very least to make sure he is up on Prick Advisor. Oop, he deleted his Facebook after I made a post on there. He is the most convincing person you have ever met, but for the first time, someone proved him wrong by posting medical evidence and he couldn't take it. I'm waiting on approval to join Prick Advisor UK, and are we dating the man same Northeast to warn all the other women I couldn't find myself. Update 1. I've spoken to the police this morning. There is nothing they can do unless they find the drugs on his person in the school, so nothing is stopping him snorting a line before he starts work as long as he takes nothing else with him. They've implied the loophole is that they catch him behind the wheel, and if some reported him driving on drugs they could catch him that way. They said they can confirm that multiple reports and investigations have begun before even my report, so they are unable to share much information with me. Even thought he case involves me, but they told me it is imperative I apply for Claire's Law and have helped me with the application. It can take up to 10 days for my in-person meeting to provide my documents, and then it can take several weeks for the information to be shared with me. Knowing what I do already, I feel sick that they have told me how important it is for me to make this application. I can't believe in a few weeks, he's going to discuss me even further when I receive his police records. My only silver lining is that once I have the police reports, on top of my medical reports, he doesn't stand a chance in family court and me and my girl will be free to restart our lives together. Also, another little note, I've been looking for family court advice in a mom support group and have been informed that luckily she's only 5 months old and any name changes can be made before 6 months with only one parent's consent, and the witnesses don't need to be his choice, so I will be removing his surname and his grand's name from her middle name, for her to take my surname and not have any more ties to his family. I just wanted to put an apology in here, as well as a lot of people have commented on my poor writing. I am a new ma'am who was lacking sleep even before any of this came to light. Everything I've wrote has basically been just a big vent for me. I know I'm no novelist, but I still apologize if it's been difficult to read. Update 2. I have managed to provide enough evidence of drug use and emotional blackmail to the police to have a domestic abuse case opened. This is going straight past the school to the highest authority to keep him away from children. This is huge news and gives me such a relief in knowing my child and others will be safe, but I still have that awful feeling of guilt for him. Just 2 weeks ago we called each other bride and groom. I think it's going to take a while to grieve the person I thought I knew while dealing with the one I know now. I hope this is the point he actually goes to rehab instead of lying about it and can find happiness and restart his life. I don't think I want to make any more updates now. I am unbelievably grateful for the kind words and advice, but I originally just wrote this to get my emotions out of my head to help me sleep better. I know I used a clickbaity title, but I did not expect my post to blow up like this. Update 3. So, remember how I was waiting for my Claire's Law application to go through? Well, I got the call. And I wish I could say it was just the confirmation of what I already suspected, but no, what they told me left me physically shaking. The officer was careful with her words, but the message was clear: I should consider taking extra precautions for my and my daughter's safety. There's a long list of reported incidents involving him, some going back years before me, spanning multiple towns and multiple women. Some of the reports are eerily similar to mine: manipulation, emotional abuse, fake medical issues, but others are much worse. The officer couldn't go into detail since some are still under investigation, but the fact that they outright told me to take precautions says everything. I barely had time to process that before another bombshell dropped. One of his exes from years ago reached out after seeing my post on one of the warning groups. She had no idea he had a child, let alone that I existed. And then she hit me with this: he was married. Married. To her. Legally. The dates overlap with our relationship. I don't know how he pulled it off, but while I was at home crying over his cancer treatments, he was playing house with her. And the worst part? She thought she was his only partner, too. She had no clue about me, the other women, or the fact that he had a child. She's completely blindsided and heartbroken. She showed me their marriage certificate. They got married in 2022. Which means, our entire relationship, our pregnancy, our daughter's birth, he was legally married the entire time. The sheer level of deception is unfathomable. And just when I thought that was bad enough, I found out why he deleted his Facebook. He didn't just disappear, he made a new one. A fresh profile, under a fake name, with a new girlfriend. And guess what? She thinks he has cancer. I messaged her. I sent her everything, screenshots, medical records, police reports, the works. She never replied, but her profile disappeared the next day. I hope that means she got out. I also got an unexpected message from a former student of his. She's an adult now, but she said his behavior always gave her and her friends the creeps. She even remembered him mentioning his cancer to students to get sympathy. She said she didn't know what was real or fake, but looking back, a lot of things seemed off. I encouraged her to report anything she felt was inappropriate to the authorities. As for the school, his mom stepped down from the board. I don't know if it was voluntary or forced, but she's out. And him? He's on leave while the investigation continues. I want to scream at the fact that they haven't outright fired him yet, but at least they're taking it seriously now. The good news? My daughter's name change is official. She no longer carries his last name. It feels like one of the last chains tying me to him has finally been broken. The legal side of things is still ongoing. The domestic abuse case is progressing, and I have a lawyer helping me with custody matters. I'm doing everything I can to ensure that man has no access to my daughter, now or in the future. I don't know if this will be my final update, because at this point, nothing shocks me anymore. But if you're reading this, please, trust your gut. If something feels off, it probably is. If someone makes you feel crazy for asking questions, ask louder. I ignored so many red flags because I was in love, and it almost cost me everything. Update 4. Let's start with the biggest development. He's fled. Not in some dramatic, on the run from the law way, though he should be. But he quit his job, emptied his bank account, and vanished. His family won't tell anyone where he is, but I have my suspicions. A mutual acquaintance, who is disgusted by him and has been feeding me info, says he's been bragging about starting fresh and moving somewhere where people don't believe everything they read online. I don't know if he's left the country, but honestly? Good. Let him run. He won't escape the consequences forever. But here's the part that shook me to my core. A woman reached out to me, let's call her Sarah. She said she's been following my posts and recognized my ex's pattern immediately. Why? Because she dated him almost a decade ago. And back then, he told her he had cancer too. But here's the kicker, she got pregnant. And he told her he was infertile. Sounds familiar, right? But unlike me, she didn't find out until after she lost the baby due to complications. She was devastated, and he used it to his advantage, manipulating her into staying with him, saying he needed her more than ever because of his illness. It took her years to realize how much he had been gaslighting her. She ended up going through therapy, and when she saw my story, she said she felt physically ill realizing he was still doing the same thing, just with different women. She also told me something that I can't stop thinking about. She had an STI, too. That's right. 10 years ago. He gave it to her, swore he was faithful, and convinced her it must have been a mistake at the clinic. Sound familiar? He's been pulling the same disgusting stunt for years. Which makes me wonder, how many other women have there been? How many have gotten sick because of him? How many have had children or lost children because of his lies? And now that he's fled? There's no way to know how many more victims he's going to leave in his wake. The police are still investigating, but now that he's disappeared, they've told me they can't force him to show up for questioning unless they physically locate him. Which means the legal process could drag on for months. In the meantime, I've connected with dozens of his exes. We're working together to compile all our evidence, every medical record, every message, every report that was brushed under the rug. If the police won't stop him, we will. Because here's the thing, he's not just a cheater. He's not just a manipulator. He's a predator. And we're going to make sure he can never do this again. For now, I'm focusing on my daughter and our future. We've moved to a new place, far away from anyone who could lead him back to us. I've changed my number, locked down all my social media, and made sure he has no legal claim to my child. I refuse to live in fear of this man. So while he's out there hiding, running, trying to find his next victim, I'm healing. I'm rebuilding. Update 5. Let's start with the fact that he was found. Not by the police. Not by social services, but by another woman. Let's call her Emma. Emma reached out to me after seeing one of the warnings about him in a private Facebook group. She was dating him. Yes. Right now. He had already started spinning his same old web of lies, cancer, infertility, tragic past, everything. But this time, he had changed his name. That's right. This man actually legally changed his name. Emma got suspicious because something felt off about his stories. When she saw my posts, she immediately messaged me, asking if I recognized him. She sent me a picture, and my stomach dropped. It was him. He'd cut his hair, grown a beard, but there was no mistaking it. And guess where he was? Less than an hour away from me. This man fled, disappeared, changed his name, only to set up a new life practically in my backyard. Emma dumped him instantly, blocked him on everything, and gave me all the information she had, which I immediately forwarded to the police. And that's when I learned that he's been under investigation for something else entirely. I can't share too many details yet, but let's just say it's worse than we thought. This isn't just about me, or the STIs, or the cheating. This is about serious, criminal behavior. And I wasn't the only person who had reported him. The authorities now have a warrant out for his arrest. He's officially on the run. I feel sick. I feel vindicated. I feel terrified knowing how close he was to me this whole time. But most of all, I feel angry. Angry that it took this long. Angry that so many women reported him and nothing was done until now. Angry that a system exists that lets a man like him slip through the cracks over and over again. But he's out of time. Because this time? We found him first. Update 6. After Emma's revelation, I gave all the information to the police. They were already investigating him, but with the evidence piling up from multiple women, they finally took action. They managed to track down where he was staying, and last Friday, they raided his home. What they found? Disgusting. Horrifying. Worse than anything I could have ever imagined. First, the drugs. We already knew he was using, but they found enough cocaine and ketamine to suggest he wasn't just using, he was dealing. That explains how he was able to support his lifestyle despite being too sick to work half the time. Second, they found a second phone. This wasn't just any phone, it was filled with conversations with at least a dozen women, all of whom he was manipulating at the same time. He had been juggling multiple relationships, each with different lies tailored to their situation. Some thought he was a cancer patient. Others thought he was a recovering addict. Some believed he was a widower raising a child alone. Yes. You read that right. He had been telling some women that he had a baby daughter whose mother had died. This absolute piece of trash was using my daughter in his lies to gain sympathy from other women. That's not even the worst part. The secret family, when the police took his phone, they also found bank records. Turns out, he was sending money, regularly, to an unknown account. At first, I assumed it was just drug payments or something shady like that. But no. It was child support. For another baby. I nearly threw up when the police confirmed it. He had another child. A baby. Just a few months older than mine. And the mother? She had no idea I existed. I tracked her down through mutual contacts, and when I messaged her, she was completely blindsided. She thought she was his only partner, that he was living with her during the times he claimed he was at rehab or recovering at his mom's. She was devastated. She had a newborn and had just found out the father was not only a cheater, but also a liar, a criminal, and a wanted man. His mother knew everything. I always thought his mother was partially in the dark about his actions. Maybe she was just an enabler, but not actively involved in his web of lies. I was wrong. Not only did she know everything, but she had been helping him cover it up. When the police started their investigation, she tried bribing one of his exes, not me, to stay quiet. She told her she'd help with rent, send her money, anything to keep her from talking to the police. And that's when everything made sense. His entire life had been one big scam, and his mother had been helping him keep it all together. That's why he was never caught. That's why the school ignored the complaints. That's why every woman who tried to expose him was shut down, because mommy was pulling strings behind the scenes. Well, guess what? She's under investigation too. The escape attempt the day after the raid, he ran. The police were closing in on him, and instead of facing the consequences, he packed a bag and fled. He tried booking a flight under his fake name, but guess what? He was already flagged. The police caught him at the airport. When they arrested him, he sobbed like a child. He tried playing the cancer card, the mental health card, the I was just trying to get my life together card. But this time? No one believed him. Where things stand now, he is currently in custody, facing a long list of charges. The police are still sorting through everything, but so far, he's being investigated for drug possession and intent to distribute fraud, lying about medical conditions for financial and emotional gain, sexual endangerment, knowingly exposing women to STIs, child endangerment, for his role in my daughter's medical complications, and possibly more, depending on what they find. His teaching license has been revoked. The school had no choice but to finally act when the police got involved. His mother is being investigated for conspiracy and obstruction of justice. And me? For the first time in months, I feel like I can breathe. Update 7. 2 days after his arrest, I got a knock on my door. It was his lawyer. Not social services. Not the police, his personal defense attorney. I almost slammed the door in his face, but curiosity, and a little rage, got the better of me. I wanted to hear what excuse this guy had prepared. And then he hit me with the worst possible news. He was fighting for custody. Yes. This man, who had abandoned me during labor, who left me to care for our child alone while he cheated, lied, and did drugs, was trying to take me to court for our daughter. Apparently, in his twisted, delusional mind, I was poisoning our daughter against him, and he was demanding fair access. His drug use, fraud, and multiple relationships? He claimed they had no bearing on his ability to be a good father. His lawyer even had the audacity to suggest that my social media posts about him were defamatory and could hurt my case in court. I just stood there, trying not to laugh in this man's face, because what else can you do when your criminal ex, fresh out of an airport arrest, decides he's the victim? The court battle begins. I wasted no time. I contacted my lawyer and showed her everything. The police reports. The medical records. The messages from his exes. The proof of his drug use. The fact that he already had another child that he abandoned. The judge didn't even hesitate. His parental rights were immediately suspended pending further investigation. But that wasn't enough for me. I filed to have his name completely removed from the birth certificate so he would have no legal claim to her whatsoever. That fight is still ongoing, but given everything he's done, my lawyer is confident that he will never see my daughter again. The mother of all betrayals. If you thought his custody attempt was the final insult, think again. Because while he was busy trying to take my daughter away from me, his mother, his monster of a mother, was busy trying to ruin my life. After the police raided his house, she had two choices: accept that her son was a pathological liar and a criminal. Go full-on villain mode and try to burn my life to the ground. She picked option 2. She started calling my workplace, spreading rumors that I was unstable and had mental health issues. She even tried to suggest that I was a danger to my own child, the same child I have been single-handedly raising while her son was out sleeping with every woman in the city. I only found out about this because a coworker overheard a phone call and warned me. At first, I thought it was just a desperate attempt to lash out, but then I got a letter from social services. She had filed a complaint against me. That's right. This woman, whose son had abandoned his daughter, endangered her life, and left me with an STI while I was pregnant, was now trying to take my child away from me. My final move. This was the last straw. I gave social services every piece of evidence I had. The police reports. The drug accusations. The proof of fraud. The fact that her son was in custody when she filed the report against me. They took one look at the case and shut it down immediately. Then, I took it a step further. I filed for a restraining order against his mother. She is now legally barred from contacting me, my child, or coming anywhere near us. If she tries anything else, she will be arrested. Where we stand now, my ex is still in custody, facing multiple charges. His trial date has been set, and if convicted, he will be going to prison for a very long time. His parental rights are suspended, and I am fighting to have his name removed from my daughter's birth certificate. His mother has been exposed and now has a legal restraining order against her. I have officially changed my daughter's last name. She will never have to carry his name or his legacy.